Hello, I'm Evan Koslof. You're watching a special report on Spectrum News. It is 6:50 on the dot in the nation's capital, where President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu are holding a news conference right now. Let's listen in.
The inauguration of President-elect Donald Trump here in snowy Washington will look very different than past years. Because of the bitter cold here in Washington, it's been moved inside.
Here at the White House, they're now raising the alarm about a possible escalation in the war in Ukraine, saying they now have evidence that North Korea is providing ballistic missiles to Russia and that Iran is in negotiations to do the same. Well, it really was a remarkable visit. It was a far-ranging conversation where reporters could just yell out questions, and Trump really let Musk do most of the talking.
You described it right when you said it's like the first day of school here. When you're walking around, you're seeing lawmakers that are here with their families. We see young kids all dressed up in their suits here. Our Kevin Fry is over at one of the House office buildings over at Cannon. He said he spotted a game of Duck, Duck, Goose.
One bill or two? That's been the debate among Republicans here on Capitol Hill for months. Senate Republicans pushing for a two-tiered approach, starting with a more narrow bill.
We are hearing that the first three hostages are being released. The first three Israeli hostages that were taken on October 7th.
By the way, Cheryl, Pam Bondi been very busy in her first day. I just received a message from a source within the DOJ. Tells me they've received 14 memos from her here on day one and counting.
And I think that's job number one for him. He needs to introduce himself. So we're going to hear a lot about his bio. I think he's going to talk about his time as a coach. He's going to talk about his time as a high school teacher. He's going to talk about his 24 years in the National Guard.
It was a dominant night for former President Donald Trump. But to get his agenda passed, he's going to need the help of Congress. So let's take a look at the balance of power on Capitol Hill, starting with the Senate.
I have to tell you, Evan, that day was so devastating.
Why stop at just scheduling it down? How realistic is a two-state solution?
People need to see this.
In June, Spectrum News sat down with Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn and Democrat Senator Tammy Duckworth.
What does governance look like?
John Kirby, the White House National Security Communications Advisor, said this is a crucial moment for the future of Syria.
How do you expect to do all these big goals when you've got this tiny little margin here?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Louisiana Congressman Mike Johnson held on to power here on Capitol Hill in dramatic fashion. Although he won the gavel technically on the first ballot, the vote was far from ordinary. Drama on the House floor. Mike Johnson appearing to lose his bid to be House Speaker as three hardline conservative Republicans initially voted against him, raising the prospects of a prolonged Speaker battle. But then a major twist. Two of the holdouts, Congressman Ralph Norman of South Carolina and Keith Self of Texas, changed their votes, giving Johnson just enough votes to become Speaker yet again.
That in spite of our great challenges and even our disagreements and our healthy debates, this extraordinary institution, the People's House, will still be standing strong.
The election of a Speaker was a crucial last step before the 119th Congress could be sworn in.
You are now members of the 119th Congress.
Johnson struck an optimistic note, vowing to focus on boosting border security, extending tax cuts, and cutting the administrative state in Washington. All cornerstones of President-elect Donald Trump's agenda. Democrats, meanwhile, were united, all supporting their leader, Brooklyn Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, for Speaker. Jeffries suggested a willingness to work with Republicans, who will soon hold a trifecta of power, controlling both houses of Congress and the White House.
We will work with anyone to secure our borders, and we will work with anyone to fix our broken immigration system in a comprehensive and bipartisan manner.
Johnson had the backing of President-elect Donald Trump, who congratulated the incoming Speaker after the vote, writing in part, "Mike will be a great Speaker, and our country will be the beneficiary." Meanwhile, Vice President Kamala Harris returned to Capitol Hill to swear in the new senators.
It's worth stopping for just a moment to think about this moment for Vice President Kamala Harris, who has had a wild whirlwind 6 months, going from Vice President, then President Joe Biden, dropping out of the race abruptly, starting her campaign to try and win election, and now here she is overseeing the counting of the vote for her opponent, President-elect Donald Trump.
It's been a long climb up the ladder of seniority, and with each passing year, I've been able to do more for the state of Maine.
Senator Susan Collins has been a fixture in Washington since she was elected to the Senate in 1996.
You've seen 8 Senate majority leaders in your time, 5 presidents. Over all this time, how has Washington changed?
Washington has become more partisan over the years. I think we need to look for common ground.
Collins joined us in her new office on the first floor of the Capitol, designated for the Senate Appropriations Committee. This term, Collins became the first Republican woman to chair this powerful committee.
I come to Washington not as an enemy of government, but as one committed to improving it.
Collins is a lifelong Republican, but at times has bucked her party and its leader, President Donald Trump. Just this week, she declared that she would vote against Trump's pick for Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth.
I did not find that Mr. Hegseth had the experience and perspective that was needed.
Collins says that she spoke with Trump after his inauguration and hopes to work closely with the incoming administration, despite their past differences. During Trump's second impeachment trial after the January 6th riot in 2021, Collins was one of just 7 Republicans that voted to convict him.
We're not going to always agree on issues. I don't agree with the president's pardon of violent individuals who were involved in the riot on January 6, 2021, and actually assaulted police officers.
Collins also expressed concerns with Trump's plans for wide-scale tariffs, in particular, a threatened 25% tariff against Canada, the biggest trade partner for her home state.
I'm trying to get the administration to think more thoroughly about the ramifications.
And as the chair of Appropriations, Collins will have a big impact on the budget. She says her top priorities are rural development, defense, infrastructure, and biomedical research. Reporting here on Capitol Hill, I'm Evan Koslof, Spectrum News.
I like this.
At the Spectrum newsroom in Los Angeles, one of our broadcast engineers is about to get a makeover of sorts, all thanks to deepfake technology.
Every face is indeed different.
Just watch as it's used to transform our test subject into Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg. Now take a look as he's morphed into Scarlett Johansson.
Oh wow, this is not bad.
Even President Joe Biden is possible, although he might need a new haircut to really pull it off.
It's good to be the president.
The deepfakes were put together by a visual effects company called VFX Los Angeles. The company's founder and CEO, Izzy Traub,
There's always that kind of wow moment.
and the head of creative, Charles H. Jocelyn, telling us this presentation just scratches the surface. With better lighting, more cameras, and a more realistic body double, they say these deepfakes can be highly sophisticated, undetectable to the human eye.
We're at the stage now where we are pushing the limits of what it can do.
This is me then.
And Traub says that this technology has been a game changer in Hollywood, enabling directors to de-age actors such as they did here with Jennifer Lopez, or shoot scenes without actors. But there's no denying that this new technology could also create new threats.
I think there's real risk for personal defamation, revenge.
I think corporate warfare, marital problems between people.
And there's growing concern about deepfake technology being misused in politics, creating fake videos to manipulate your vote. And we're already starting to see it.
It's important that you save your vote for the November election.
New Hampshire Democrats got this call back in January. It sounded like a message from President Joe Biden, urging them to sit out of the presidential primary. But the problem is that it was a deepfake. A political consultant is now facing more than 24 criminal charges for allegedly creating it. Do you feel like you're in a battle to try and keep up?
Yes, every day.
Engineering professor Ed Delp is a deepfake researcher, part of a team funded by the Pentagon, developing detection software. And he says that this has become an arms race.
The people making these tools are getting better and better, and then we got to get better and better to detect them.
How we can find what is real, what is fake.
Delp says that there have been major advances. For example, Intel created a tool called Fake Catcher, which analyzes video pixels to detect deepfakes. Intel says that it has a 96% success rate. And artificial intelligence, part of the problem, could also be part of the solution, using it to train computers to detect abnormal human behavior. We're training robots to recognize a human better than our eyes and our brain.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's happening. That's the world we live in now.
And it's a world that's raising alarm bells on Capitol Hill, prompting new attempts to regulate this new technology. In the House, a bipartisan proposal calls for new deepfake guidelines, including possible requirements on AI developers to better label deepfake video. And in the Senate, another bipartisan pitch would essentially ban deceptive AI material in political ads. Neither bill has gotten a vote so far.
Still make some adjustments.
Meanwhile, back in Los Angeles, the demo continues. Our model now transformed into Elon Musk. All this a preview of what could be in our future, a world where it's harder to know what's real and what's not.
They will be a lot more ubiquitous, and they will be scaringly accurate, and they will be within reach within a thumb's push.
In Washington, I'm Evan Koslof, Spectrum News.